Hey guys, MrPokke here, back with another video, and welcome to another episode of CN Pooling Opinions, this time for version 2.6, which is essentially the filler patch, quote unquote the filler patch. So without further ado, let's get into today's content. Subscribe! Alrighty. First of all, diabolical art. Very nice, good looking Rappa art. You know, Akali really popped off there. Very good, very nice. And let's just jump right into the very first thing, which is going to be the estimated pooling. Let's just jump right into the estimated pool income for version 2.6. So essentially, it kind of boils down to, for the first half, free to play, 82 pools, and then the second half give us another 31 additional pools for a combined total of 113. And then for the monthly pass holders, it's going to be 94.43 for a total of 137. And then for the monthly plus a battle pass, it's going to be 102 plus 43, which is exactly the same at 145. This is essentially kind of the same as the couple of previous patches, but for this specifically, we actually got a little bit more for 2.6 than 2.5. It's around like 10 pools more for 2.6 than 2.5. So that's really nice, especially for the free-to-play player base. And as always, these are going to be estimations and they are not going to be 100% confirmed. But that is going to be the estimated pool income. And jumping right into Rappa herself. AOE Super Break. We have a single target boot heal, 3 target Firefly, and now we finally have the 5 target Rappa. Right, so you can see from the animation in the live stream, right? Yesterday we have seen the live stream. The ultimate is essentially another QTE ultimate, but not exactly, because it is tied to the enhanced basic attack that allows her to once again ignore weakness typing. Rest in peace, Silverwolf, right? So I think this is the 5th consecutive DPS that we have had in Honkai Starbucks that has ignored weakness typing ever since the release of Acheron, right? We have Acheron, Boot Heal, Firefly, Face Shell, and now it's going to be Rappa again. So it is what it is. Skill, 5 target AoE. Don't really have much to talk about. Ultimate enters into seal form state and gains 1 extra turn, increasing her weakness break efficiency. Triggering this 3 chroma ink, which is the little counter you see in the little live stream. There's going to be a counter of 3 to deal enhanced basic attack damage, and they will exit the state after 3 enhanced basic attack, and then the cycle kind of repeats itself over again, right? So we didn't really exactly know what exactly is Rappa's talent, but we do know from her enhanced basic is going to be 3 target damage, so it's kind of like destruction targeting, and the final enhanced basic attack is going to be dealing damage to all enemies at the final here, right? And the technique is where she rides around the skateboard, and then when she collides with the enemy, you're gonna deal weakness and actual damage to all targets, right? So the super break damage scaling, if we are gonna be using a super break DPS for any sort of like 5 target or even 4 target content, Rappa would most likely outperform Boot Heal or maybe even Firefly at E0 as well. Unsure if we can concentrate her damage into a single target. Because one of Erudition's, I guess you could say, the problem of scaling Erudition units' performance outside of pure fiction is their ability to concentrate their damage if they are less than 5 enemy targets, right? So for Argenti, for example, he can combine all his ultimate's additional hits into a single target for his enhanced ultimate. But one problem is his energy generation is going to be negatively impacted if you're against only a single target, right? Because you get more energy per enemy hit. So for Rappa, we're not exactly sure if she deals super break damage to 5 targets will increase to the single target if the number of target goes down, right? So we'll kind of have to see how she's like going forward. Then for the supplementary 4 stars, it's going to be Lynx, Xue Yi, and Yukong. Nothing outstanding. E6 Yukong is some niche. Okay, honestly, chat type 1 if you're using E6 Yukong nowadays. And then we have E6 Xue Yi, which might be fun for some content with quantum winners. But once again, ain't nobody using E6 Xue Yi, right? Type 1 if you're using once again, people just lying for fun, right? So that's gonna be the final overall rating for Rappa. If you need help with pure fiction, it's gonna be an 8 out of 10. Otherwise, it is a little bit low, if I can say so myself. So for CN, they believe that Rappa, she will perform very well in imaginary weak content, especially with Harmony Trailblazer, regardless if they are pure fiction, Apocalypse Heroes, or Memory of Chaos. But her best performing content would likely still be in pure fiction, unless we get news that she can scale her damage to become higher against lesser numbers of enemy units. Unfortunately, the biggest potential problem with Rappa right now is that she cannot implant imaginary weakness. Whereas this is not the case for Boothill and Firefly. Because of this inability to implant imaginary weakness, it would be a little bit awkward to run her in scenarios with Harmony Trailblazer, even if she herself could ignore the enemy typing. If she actually could implant imaginary weakness, the synergy with Harmony Trailblazer would actually go so hard, because Harmony Trailblazer also does exceptional imaginary super break damage. But because from what we see from the live stream anyways, we cannot see Rappa implanting the imaginary weakness. Unless there's like a hidden mechanic that didn't show in the live stream, maybe this entire time she can implant imaginary, but we're gonna have to wait and see. But for now, because of this inability to do so, there might be a little bit of a problem compared to other super breakers such as Boothill and Firefly. Speaking about the actual break, do you guys know that imaginary break has the lowest break damage across every single elemental break? Because I actually did not know this until I went and studied up a little bit. Apparently, physical and fire has the highest break base damage multiplier, and this is not even including the bleed, the burn, or whatever. This is just the raw break damage. Physical and fire is actually the highest, and imaginary is at 1/4 of the base break damage compared to physical and fire. So the raw multiplier for an imaginary break is also a little bit sussy, right? So we'll probably need more details from the kit to see if we can compete Rappa's super break damage with fire and physical super break coming from Firefly and Boothill respectively. Also, one more thing is gonna be her energy regeneration. I'm not sure if you guys have noticed from the live stream. Whenever she does her enhanced base attack or whatever comes out, she does generate energy, but out of the entire energy bar from the ultimate, it looks like a very small amount. So we're not exactly sure if there's a way that we need to run her with energy regeneration rope, break effect rope, or any means to kind of improve the ultimate rotation. Because what the live stream is presenting, or at least what we're getting so far, is that she does want to use this ultimate as fast as possible to trigger the 3 enhanced basic attacks, and then it kind of rotates back out of the ultimate state. Energy might also be a concern, and we're gonna have to see if she has any sort of like similar mechanics with, for example, Firefly, which has a whopping 240 and it's crazy, right? Aside from that, every edition units, for example, Argenti and Jade, most of them, they do fall short compared to the big three. Alright, if you guys don't know who is the big three, it's basically Acheron, Facial, as well as Firefly, right? The big three DPS at E0, they fall a little bit short. Although they do have exceptional performance in pure fiction, but their role is also kind of getting filled by Herda and Himeko. So Rappa's usage, if you are still struggling a lot with pure fiction, I think it will be very, very good. But if you are going for content such as Apocalyptic Shadows or even Memory of Chaos, getting any of the big three might probably be more synergistic for your account instead of Rappa. Also, there's one more thing that kind of left over here. It is a little bit unfortunate, but we have this. Now, this is not really Rappa's fault, right? But as we have seen from the start of Honkai Starbucks up until now, it has been almost 2 years, like 1.5 years by now. 别打的辅助流水的主系, right? DPS is temporary, but supports are forever. Sunday and Tingyun, they are gonna be coming out in version 2.7 because they are both supportive roles. I mean, I'm not sure about Fuke, right? Maybe she's a DOT, who knows? But we could more or less be certain that Sunday is going to be like a support because he is literally Harmony, right? It is a little bit unfortunate that Rappa, even though it's not really her problem, she does indirectly compete with big boy banners that are going to be coming out in the patch after Rappa, right? So it is what it is, and it's just something to keep in mind. So that is going to be that for Rappa, and kind of just move on to next Imbibitor Lunae rerun. OG hyper carry back in the days of version 1 alongside Jingliu. Imbibitor Lunae reshaped the hyper carry damage ceiling back in version 1. They ran so that the version 2 DPS can fly. 3 EBA Fulgurant Leap, one of the highest damage multiplier in the entire game for almost 1 year. Excellent synergy with 4 stars like Teaming Hanya Pella, and works with pretty much every single sustain, although he does perform exceptionally well with Huan Huan, right? Especially if you run Huan Huan teaming for Imbibitor Lunae. Sparkle also significantly boosted Imbibitor Lunae's performance to go kind of close with some of the newer DPS releases, and his E2 is still one of the best DPS E2 in the entire game, and arguably the most impactful E2 change from E0 to E2. Even for insane Idolin 2 DPS such as E2 Firefly or E2 Acheron, the thing is they are already super good at E0. Whereas in Imbibitor Lunae, E0 to E2 is such a huge change, right? Still arguably one of the most impactful Idolin 2s that we have for DPS units, right? Also, if you're talking about Signature Light Cone, 4 of the Aeon also suffices even without the Signature Light Cone 1. Extremely accessible and universal Light Cone you can get from the Herta store, but it's actually over. CN feels that his value is so low, they didn't even talk about him. It was just a video for Rappa, Acheron, and Aventurine. Blood didn't even make it to the thumbnail, right? E0 Imbibitor Lunae unfortunately just fell off way too much compared to our other E0 powerhouses, namely the big three, Acheron, Firefly, and Facial. And whether be it from their damage multipliers, the ability to ignore weakness typing, or even if you're going for E2 against E2, for the most part, not really worth the Stellar Jades, especially when stronger DPSs will always come out with every single version. The same thing happened for Jingliu, the same thing happened for Imbibitor Lunae, and it is quite likely similar things will be happening to even giants like Acheron herself, which we're going to be talking about a little bit later, right? Unfortunately, in Honkai Starbucks, DPS just simply does not age as well compared to the Honkai Starbucks supports or even sustains. So it is what it is. His banner competition is also extremely unfortunate because he's basically competing with an Acheron and Aventurine rerun in the second half, and they are both more or less tier 0 DPS and sustains, as well as powerhouse supports like Sunday and Fuke by the next patch, right? With all these things said and done, it is time for Guo Wang to Chao Xi. Yeah. Okay, anyways, Acheron, on to happier news. TB, Acheron, meta-defining version 2 DPS. Our arrival completely changed the DPS landscape, introducing the new era of DPS that made version 1 look like a shadow of their former self. And I don't really think we need too much of an introduction for Acheron specifically. She has universal ultimate damage, built-in rest pen, ignore very good. And I think this probably will not be applicable to a lot of, casual player base. But if you guys play Honkai Starbucks on a daily basis, you guys kill like minions, kill similar universe, her technique is still one of, if not the best technique in the entire game to one-shot the mobs. Very good quality of life. And her debuff application kit does mean that she's more reliant on team building, which means the more debuffers we get, the stronger debuffs we get, that means that Acheron can scale up with time, which is not an issue that, maybe standalone DPSs such as Jingliu and Imbibitor Lunae is gonna face that much, right? Also, E2 Acheron also opens up the slot tree harmony if you're not running a 0 sustain comp, allowing for powerful combinations like Sparkle, Bronya, Babin, Rame, or even Sunday in the future. Who knows, right? That is for E2 Acheron if you are not gonna be reading the multiplier. And her Light Cone banner also has a boundless choreo, which is an excellent alternative to the signature Light Cone if you ever need any additional copies, right? That being said, the verdict is gonna be quite interesting. If you have a E1 S1 Acheron with a Jiao Chill and a Sparkle, that means you're only pulling for the E2 missing piece. It's gonna be quite good. If you do not have any version 2 crit DPS, such as Yunli or Fei Xiao, then get an E0 Acheron is also not too shabby. Otherwise, ooh, yikes. So CN, the CN, they were a little bit more, harsh. They were a little more strict, feeling that Acheron at E0 S0 and at E0 S1, if they were to compare this Acheron with version 2 crit DPS, specifically Fei Xiao, she doesn't really perform up to par. And this is not really Acheron, but just how absolutely busted a fart is compared to Acheron Jiao Qiu, right? So you can see this little note over here. I can try 更高的击破效率, 攻击效率, this is 20-30% more final damage multipliers, as well as a higher toughness bar, which essentially means this, right? The fart team comp does roughly 20 to 30% more final damage, as well as they have more attack frequency and more toughness breaking. And toughness breaking does bring about a indirect comfort for players, because if the enemy is toughness broken, then they can't really attack you, right? That being said, at E1 S1, if you have a Sparkle and Jiao Qiu specifically, then getting this one more Acheron copy is gonna be a very nice upgrade to your account. But if you want to pull a E2 S1 Acheron from scratch, it is gonna be costing you quite a bit. And based on what we've seen from like the version 1 DPSs, we could see some crazy DPS by version 3, which is happening very soon, right? So if we were to get a version 3 DPS, Acheron might just be the next Jingliu. Other than that, we are also kind of lacking a dedicated slot tree as well as a sustain, as well as a dedicated sustain for Acheron Team Comp at an E0 perspective. We are going to be getting Sunday as well as Fugue. So we don't know what to do. We don't know what to do, right? We don't know what to do because Fugue is a fire nihility. So who knows if we are going to be running Fugue with Acheron, right? We have no idea. This might favor Acheron depending on exactly what Sunday and Fugue does. With Sunday replacing Sparkle or Tianyun being her slot tree, but we are basically only going to be knowing their kit by December, right? So who knows what their kits are going to be or what kind of version 3 DPS drip marketing is going to come up by then, right? It essentially just boils down to Acheron struck by the curse of being a DPS unit in Honkai Starbucks. And then moving on to Aventurine, meta-defining version 2 sustain. Clip functions flawlessly with Bubbin and any follow-up attackers, being the first sustain to challenge Huan Huan's damage utility, right? Fu Xuan, it was a close contender with the 12% crit rate, but Aventurine truly took this up to the next level with the crit damage debuff, the sustain, the effect rest, so it was very, very nice to see. One of the highest effective HP boosts to the entire team with an almost permanent refreshable shield, raising all of our team's maximum HP because there's the role of a preservation unit, right? You can also essentially slap on Aventurine with pretty much any team except for HP drainers like Jingliu and Blade. Exceptional toughness damage with attack and ultimate, very, very skill point positive that could be even more than Luocha, since sometimes with Luocha, problem with Luocha is you need a cleanse. And the cleanse doesn't, so for example, like Kafka Mind Control, Luocha would need to spend a skill. So it is what it is. Personal damage is also really very, very nice, especially with Bubbin and a DPS build. And also not very reliant on this signature light cone, a lot of light cone substitutes. E1 and E2 also very nice damage bars, especially the E2 rest pen for players considering vertical follow-up team investments. At the end of the day, it's also kind of coming down to the classic tale of sustain units. If you only have a single limited sustain, you just started playing the game, you have no limited sustain, then his value is going to be very, very nice for players in this category. Otherwise, then it's really not that important, right? And CN feel that generally speaking, Aventurine may have more potential pool value than Acheron for more players because of DPS womp. It is what it is, right? If players still have less than 2 limited sustain, he will definitely bring a lot more comfort. And currently, you are basically having the option of either pulling for Lingsha Super Break or Aventurine follow-up team comp. So if you want to pull for Super Break, then Lingsha is going to be great. If you want to pull for Aventurine follow-up, then Aventurine is going to be great. One thing to consider is that Lingsha does have a substitute in terms of Gallagher, but we don't have a 4-star Aventurine. So in that sense, there's more opportunity cost if you are going to be pulling for Lingsha over Aventurine, because he doesn't really have a lot of 4-star replacement. So it is what it is. That being said, Aventurine does have a little bit of a flaw. That is, his skill point positivity may not be very prominent with a Hunt March 7th, which is very skill point positive by herself. Or if in the future we get more skill point positive follow-up units, then the skill point positivity is not going to be that important, right? Also, I'm not sure if it's just me or like this specific CN community, is that the effect rest percentage is not very consistent in preventing crowd controls, because 50% effect rest is really not a game-changing amount of effect rest. So you can still get crowd control by Kafka, you can still get stunned, imprisoned, frozen, whatever, and there's nothing Aventurine can do to cleanse that crowd control, unlike pretty much all of our sustains. If you pray, you bust, and if you get crowd control, just reset. So that's just, it is what it is. The only DPS that can kind of, you know, have built-in effect rest to scale with the 50% effect rest is Firefly. And ain't nobody running Firefly with Aventurine, right? Because you have Gallagher and Lingsha. So it is what it is. And at the end of the day, let's come to a conclusion. If you need an AoE super break, Rappa. If you lack a version 2 DPS, specifically crit DPS, Acheron. And if you need 2 limited sustains, at least 2, then Aventurine will be good to go, right? So for the potential weaknesses, I'm just going to talk about Rappa, right? Currently, Rappa's biggest weakness is, from what we've seen from the live stream, the inability to implant imaginary weakness, making her viability outside of imaginary weak situations much lower, an issue that Firefly and Boothill, they both don't really face. Also, we don't really see the ability to scale our damage with fewer enemies, so we're probably need to see more of a kit as it actually comes out closer to the day. pretty much going to be next week when we see the early access review for Rappa, right, in the creator server. So version 2.6 is pretty much a very nice catch-up patch for players that just enter into Honkai Starbucks. If you are lagging meta, you miss Facial, you miss Yingli, you miss Firefly, you miss everyone in the moms, this is a pretty good patch to start Honkai Starbucks in, because you do have access to a tier 0 DPS and a tier 0 sustain for a brand new fresh account, right? So very nice. Otherwise, if you are a player that pretty much already has like most of the units, and we're speaking about strictly meta perspective, Sunday and Fuke will probably be the next big shift in Honkai Starbucks meta, because at the end of the day, Honkai Starbucks are always going to be tied to your supports, right? So that's going to be there. Looking forward to the creator server for a closer insight, especially for Rappa. Boom! And with that, we've come to the end of version 2.6 CN Pooling Opinions. Let me know what you guys think of the pooling opinions that you guys have down in the comments below. Word of the day is going to be retire. Join Twitch, join Discord, join YouTube, join TikTok, join the Twitter community. All the best for Gacha Pools, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.